Hey everybody, this is Talkative Carl back again for another movie spoiler review. And this is the second film that I'm starting in the new year. Check out my first movie of the new year, my spoiler review of Batman Year One that I just put out last week. Check that out. Uh, Give it like a nice shout out to all my new subscribers that I've been getting in the past few days. Don't forget to follow me on the links in the description. Definitely on Twitter so you'll know when I'm live on Twitch or YouTube. And if you want to further support the channel, definitely check out the Patreon. And yeah, as I stated on Twitter, I'm going to be, well, a month, like at least a few weeks. I didn't start in the month of January, but I want to spend at least a month long period reviewing at least a handful of Keanu Reeves films. The whole Keanu, I know, like it's long past the Keanu Renaissance, but we're still kind of in the thick of it. And I just like, I had a need to do a review for a Keanu Reeves film, but then I thought, like, you know what, I want to, pick out like the Keanu Reeves films that like I not only love, but stuff that I remember watching as a kid, and definitely like some. I'm going to start off with Johnny Mnemonic is this video, and I believe tomorrow I want to do a review for Speed. I haven't seen that one since I was a kid, but I remember liking it a lot because I watched it quite a few times as a kid, but I haven't watched it for many years. So it'll be fun to revisit that again. But yeah, Johnny Mnemonic. I mean, full disclosure, I remember just when I was a little kid, the first time I've seen this film, it was just on. I didn't know who Keanu Reeves was. I didn't know any of the actors. I mean, I recall Keanu Reeves in other stuff. Yeah, like I seen the face, but I just didn't recall the name. It was like, the when you're a kid, you don't internalize the actors' names. You just recognize the face. But I remember I was late at night and was sitting there like, in bed watching TV long after my father went off to work. And I'm sitting there, just scrolling through the channels. This is right when you just channel flipping and stuff like that. And this was just on, and it just seemed interesting to me because it seems like very action heavy, and it kind of gives me like uh, what's that movie, like the Running Man vibes or Total Recall kind of situation where it's just like heavy into like I didn't know at the time, but cyberpunk feel. We didn't know, I don't think it was. I'm pretty sure what the phrase was coined, but I did not know. But it was very cyberpunk-ish. So like it caught my attention, so I sat down and watched it. I didn't really retain that much information. Like it caught my attention, but it's kind of like some stuff just went over my head as a kid. But I just it was geared towards the action, and it kind of like just caught my attention. But I was surprised about like the people who was in here. It's like Dolph Lundgren plays like a side villain in this, and of course I didn't even recognize Dolph Lundgren because the first thing I've seen Dolph Lundgren in at all, when I was little, was in the Rocky movie. But he plays Keanu Reeves plays Johnny Mnemonic, Dolph Lundgren, Carl Houdnig, or like the preacher or cyber preacher or something like that, the street preacher. Dina Meyer plays as Jane. This is just Jane. If you might remember her from Starship Troopers, but this will be her first role in anything, her first movie role. Ice-T is in this, plays as a leader of these gangs called the Low-Techs, called J-Bone. Takashi Kitano plays Takahashi. It's a lot of Takahashi's. It's like the and Die Hard is Takahashi. Dennis Akiyama as Shinji, another bad guy. Henry Rollins as Spider. Udo Kier as Rafi. So yeah, you might recognize like a definitely like a lot of people here. So yeah, oddly enough, get this. This movie, the year inside the movie storyline, it's the year 2021. My God. And like the certain things that this movie like shown right at the start, it's just like it's certain movies. It's eerie how like they are like, you know, just like somehow like uh just like Nostradamus kind of situation. Just it was eerie how certain things was playing out here. That's kind of like relates currently today. Like there's people wearing masks, and there's people being impacted by a not kind of like a pandemic, but like in a but it's like just disease. Certain people catch because they wear masks to protect themselves from catching this disease called Nas, not the rapper, nerve attenuation syndrome, or the black shakes, caused by, since this is the future, every like all this exposure to like the electromagnetic what you call it there, the shoot, where is it, the overexposure to the electromagnetic radiation, because it's say in the future, but you can tell like this is like very 90s age tech. But that's why you got this gang called the Low Techs, because they they kind of like the anti-establishment. In the 90s, it's all about like just like in the Matrix film, very geared towards going against the grain, anti-establishment kind of situation. And and because people like are so the society has so been like what's the word, like in constant over need, for lack of a better word, for like of technology. They constantly have to have that stuff around, and some people end up getting the black shakes. And of course, this is just like in the Judge Dredd films. This is like, a world where corporations have pretty much taken over. There's a lot of that during the 90s when it comes, especially action films, where corporations kind of like becomes like the main source of policing and government. So there are couriers who Johnny Mnemonic is a well, his name is Johnny. It's a lot of Keanu Reeves films who guys John or Johnny, and they're like mnemonic couriers who are like, it's kind of like mules, like people like there's like drug mules but for information and data, and they have these like surgical implants to where they can store all this data and go to wherever destination they need to go to deliver this data to whomever needs it at the and they get paid for it, essentially. Johnny, in his case, he's trying to like get all this stuff, like earn enough money so he can get all this stuff taken out of his head, so he can find live his own life without doing his job anymore. He even had like when you have these kind of implants, you have to lose some part of your memory just to keep the space. So Johnny, in his case, he removed parts of his childhood in order to make space for him to do his job. Uh, so he get like certain flashes of his childhood memory, but it's not enough for him to hold on to give any ascertain any type of understanding of what he's seeing. So he talks to Rafi one morning, uh, you know, trying to like, okay, I want this stuff out of my head. Like, you got to do one more job. That way you can have that, the money needed to get that stuff out. Even though that's not what he initially tells him, according to the story, but it's kind of the beat when you're dealing with like movies where like somebody's trying to get out and you just need one more job before you be done. But of course, it's always, that's when the job is, gets at its craziest. So he goes to this hotel room where he got all these. He goes to Beijing, and he's I don't know, like, there's a lot of Japanese actors here, or at least like because like the Yakuza is like the biggest crime organization in the film out of everybody else, and he talks to this group of scientists in Beijing who is trying to get this, because this data that they download in his head, he, unbeknownst to Johnny, this is like a huge file. Not only that, it's a file that's super important. Once this stuff is downloaded in his head, mind you, they got like TV playing. And I did not know this as a kid. They had this TV playing because I'm assuming that like for some reason because there's a lot of like 90s anime, nothing that I recognize. It's kind of like in movie kind of anime kind of stuff, and it kind of like got these little images flashing on this little photocopy thing, and I'm thinking like, okay, I never knew what that was about. I'm not like, because I remember, because like this is like, I don't remember the context, but I do recall, because the fact that I, as a kid, I thought this movie was interesting, and of course we didn't have like DVR. We had like VCRs, and we could easily record on VHS and certain things that we want to see again. But I didn't have that kind of like mindset to do all that. So wherever it was on, and it's like you got a TV guide. We used to have TV guides to know what is playing on a given week, and so that way we can catch it, or at least have a recording at the time if we're busy that day. Now, of course, I never knew when this thing was ever going to come up again. So I'm sitting there telling my father about this movie, and like, and it's like I'm trying to describe it to him because I never recall the title of the film. And I remember like pointing out Keanu Reeves and other stuff, and it's like, oh, that's the guy in that thing that I was telling you about. It's like, I just don't know what the title of that freaking movie is. And it's like, it has the photocopy with the picture of the superhero on the thing. It's like it's like he's kind of stuff in his head, and it's like, it was hard for me. I do vividly remember doing all that. I just as a kid could not retain titles of certain films, especially if they're like not like the huge blockbuster type of things like Independence Day or something like that, But anyway, he getting all this stuff downloaded into his skull. Now the TV was like randomly playing images, and one of the scientists randomly put in certain encrypted codes for it to be unlocked upon destination. Now, Johnny's policy, he doesn't look, maybe on occasion he look at some codes, if he needs to like, unlock it whenever he needs to, but he does not, or at least if you have to pass off the codes to unlock it to the destination, but he does not go into his own stuff because it's safer for me, it's safer for the client kind of situation. So he goes to the bathroom, and he's sitting there doing these breathing exercises because it's like all this stuff is jacking into his brain, and you know, even though our minds are like a computer, it's like a supercomputer. It's not handled. You know, there are some things that our brain cannot handle. Otherwise, you go freaking nuts, and that's why it's imperative. In Johnny's case, he uh, gets the data to his destination in the next 3 days, 2 or 3 days. Otherwise, he will like lose his freaking mind and probably go catatonic. Just they mentioned about like the data would just bleeds into his brain. He's pretty much just like for all intents and purposes, he'll be dead. So these these Yakuza men break in, kill everybody in the room, but Johnny was in the bathroom. He fights one of them off and runs away and heads back to Newark, New Jersey, where the destination is, where he needs to deliver the data. And of course, he's starting to realize something's wrong because the data he's been given, nobody told him how large the file it is. And so he's talking to Rafi, and of course, like Rafi, is BSing him. It turns out like he's a backstabber, and along the way, you meet up with Jane, who is like a bodyguard. She wants to be a bodyguard, at least for Rafi, because she got all these cybernetic implants given to by her friend Spider, who is also like a doctor. This is very cyberpunk, even though cyberpunk is a trash game. They borrowed heavily from like Blade Runner and stuff. Of course, Blade Runner was the foundation to a lot of what we know when it comes to cyberpunk and neo noir, that kind of stuff. It's like you can get like a lot of Blade Runner in this. At least not a lot, but at least a handful of Blade Runner influence. She gets turned away when Rafi knows she can't hold her hand steady because you can see the tremors from like the black shakes because she's been exposed. And of course, for all intents and purposes, nobody had found like the cure for the black shakes. So she gets turned away, and she, it's a lot in the 80s and 90s where like when it comes to these kind of movies, you've seen this in like the first Terminator film too, as one of the characters at the beginning had these chain mail shirts. Was that like a in thing in the 80s? I was born in 88, so I grew up in I was still a child in the 90s, so by the time I reached in my preteens, all this stuff was obviously out of fashion. But I don't know if anybody was like a teenager during the mid 90s at that time. But have you seen like a lot of that kind of stuff? What is that? It's like a chainmail shirt. I was like, it didn't dawn on me until I rewatched this movie and I start recalling certain films like the first Terminator where I see guys wearing, or people in general wearing like chainmail shirts. Well, at least it looked like chainmail. So Johnny ends up going to this location where he thinks he's been delivering this data, where it turns out to be like a double cross by Rafi, who he bumps into the previous dudes, Yakuza guys, and he managed to get away. And of course, he's trying to get the jump on Rafi, but Rafi's female bodyguards that could get the jump on him. And of course, as he's laying down on the operating table, as Rafi's backstabbing him because his head is worth a lot of money with the information he's carrying, and he got the Yakuza gangster Shinji is, is trying to make sure he surgically remove his head and keep it in cold storage so he can like extract the data later. Because along the way, Johnny's having a tough time trying to find somebody to safely extract this data without killing him. But Jane, jumps in and agrees to help Johnny if she, as long as he pays her, because he has the money. He can pay her and just bodyguards him until he get this data extracted. And of course, she's also working with the low techs as well. So as they make their escape, the low techs come in and like pretty much like outnumber Shinji's people. So as they making their way, because trying to go underground, trying to make their way across town, the black shake starts affecting Jane, and she under her, because she's look like she's having like seizures and whatnot, but she managed to eke out like, you got to find Spider, he can help both of us. And so they make their way to Spider's little hideaway. Spider played by Henry Rollins, and you see him in quite a bit of stuff. He's like a cool character actor. Like he was in Jack Frost and Michael Keaton. I didn't know that. Yeah, he was in Batman Beyond: Return of the Joker, Bad Boys 2. Wrong Turn 2. Green Lantern and Emerald Knights as Kilowog. Yeah, so he was Johnny Rancid in Teen Titans TV series in 2004, The Good Teen Titans. He was in Sons of Anarchy, AJ Weston. He was in Adventure Time as Cookie Man. At Batman Brave with the Bold, he was Robot Man. He was Zahir in Legend of Korra. He was Triclops in Masters of the Universe Revelation. So yeah, he's been in quite a few things. He was Batman Beyond Mad Stan. I didn't know he was Mad Stan. That was funny. So yeah, he's a cool character actor. Doesn't probably the bulk of his stuff is voiceover work. So as he is helping Jane out to like neutralize her shakes, at least keep it at bay before she completely seizures to death. And so Johnny learns about how like the black shakes are caused by the electromagnetic radiation from all this tech, which I found confusing as to somebody like him who probably grew up in this stuff should know how this stuff is like. Well, then again, we went through a pandemic ourselves. We hear all this stories about like Wuhan and like dead animals and all that stuff. We don't know where it's come from, that or like a lab in Wuhan that somehow leaked out or whatever like that. We don't even know which one is true or not. It's one of the two. And so it's like about to say like how would he not know where the black shades come from, but it's neither here nor there, but he should know. So they end up going to this kind of like a homeless shelter like built to house a lot of people who are suffering from this disease. And a Spider takes a look at him, and it seems that he can extract at least some of the stuff, but it's like with the stuff he has, it'll end up killing him regardless. But this is where Spider finds out what's in his head, and it looks like from this pharmaceutical company called Pharmacom, who apparently is also sending people out to find Johnny to get this information, because along the way, Johnny's getting these flashes of this digital woman he dismisses because he doesn't know where he thought it was just crazy crap going on in his head. But it was she turns out to be at that time the person who ran Pharmacon when she was alive, but she kept like a digital version of herself around just to make sure the company is ran honorably and with like good values and help be like a company for the people. But of course, that didn't turn out so well because it's turned to any kind of evil corporation long after she passed. So, this cure that they, like the Yakuza and Pharmacon is trying to extract from Johnny, they want to, keep it from themselves and charge people for the cure. They want to be the sole proprietor of this cure instead of it being for the people. And of course, there's been certain cases in real life that this kind of thing happened, where like you get all like certain conglomerates getting a hold of something that's need for like people need, and they want to market it. And so, while this is going on, the Yakuza boss hires Street Preacher, played by Dolph Lundgren, to go after Johnny, kill anybody who gets in his way, to bring bring him to him so he can have that data. So somehow he breaks in without anybody noticing. He's a big dude. This is Dolph Lundgren that we're talking about. He breaks in, beats up Jane, Jane, Johnny, and Spider. But Spider, holds him off while Johnny and Jane make their escape. And Spider ends up dying, protecting them. Then they go to J-Bone, who and before we who has the just the because with the low tech they can actually get this data safely out with the help of this supposed person named Jones, who turns out to be a dolphin with some cybernetic helmet on, kind of thing. And you have to expect that dolphin to talk too. And it was like a funny moment before they even go out to meet that dolphin. You had these idiots, henchmen, gang members who are part of the low techs, fooling around with these traps that they at least one of them was fooling around with the levers and dropping cars on top of Jane and Johnny, and Johnny just has had it because he had like a night and a half of just BS and people trying to kill him. He's just frustrated. I don't think he eaten. He only had like a little bit of sleep, but he doesn't want to sleep because he doesn't want to lose track of time because he has to get stuff out immediately, so he doesn't have time to sleep. So he just goes off on this hilarious rant, like I want to live out in a city, I want road service. I want my shirt laundered by people in Tokyo. And it's just the rant is hilarious, and it's like it's just he just want his life back, the way he just likes the lap of luxury. He likes like the whole being catered. He's like, he has the means. He just wants to just live, and he's bogged down by all this BS. So J Bone brings them to me, John Jones, and they use the dolphin because it was part of the Navy or something like that, and it's like you'd be able to use like the the sonar to help navigate inside his mind to extract the rest of data. Then of course all the bad guys converge onto the Low-Tech's hideout. Somehow they found the place, so all out war brews, and they blow up Preacher Man, thanks to the dolphin using the sonar things, affecting like anybody with like cybernetic kind of things in them. So they end up he frying that dude to a crisp. The Yakuza boss gets shot up by Shinji. Shinji gets his head cut off because he had this little nail thing. Because like if you ever watch my watch along of Deadliest Warrior on my YouTube channel, like there's like a moment where like if you learn about a ritual with Yakuza members, if they ever mess up, they have to cut off a piece of finger of their finger to as payment for their screw up. And he had this like cybernetic thumb where he kind of is like also weapons, he's kind of like a James Bond villain. He got these crazy little gimmicks that he used to kill people, and he takes off the nail and he turns into kind of like a laser wire that he slices people up. That's how he used to kill Shinji, just slicing him up really quick. And Keanu uses it, Johnny uses it to like cut off his own head. And I think at that moment could have been a great moment to like, a lot of action movies had like certain like one-liners, like, don't lose your head or something like that, So, with the help of Jones, like the Yakuza boss, before he fully succumbed to his wounds, he hands, because he had the piece of the data that was, there's a strip of paper that was from the print, that Shinji gave him earlier in the film. Which, by the way, I was confused. Well, not confused, because like if Farrakhan sends some people, I guess that was like the other foot soldiers, but then again, they could have easily have been Yakuza. I never knew which one belonged to whom. They all could have been working on the same team for all I knew. But anyway, data that Johnny acquired, I wonder if Keanu Reeves have like some kind of thing in his contract that every character he plays in, maybe not every character, but like a significant amount of his characters has to be named John or Johnny. I don't know. It seems plausible because it happens far too often to be a coincidence. But anyway, with the help of Jones, Johnny ended up hacking in his own mind to extract the data for the cure out of his head. But also, he managed to reconstitute rebuild his childhood memories again, and he comes to realize that the cybernetic woman that we see from time to time throughout this film, that used to be the head of the I keep want to say Parafarm, Farrakhan, was his mother. And once the data is extracted, J-Bone goes on, TV, hacks the television stations and broadcasts the truth that they had these companies had to cure the scientists who worked from Farrakhan, obviously, knew that this has to be, get out to the people. Uh, Now, at first, I'm thinking like, okay, why didn't they just like release it in the first place? But I guess they didn't want it to be tracked down. They didn't want to end up getting themselves killed because it was very fidgety at the beginning of the film. So they obviously had to use a courier, I'm assuming, to be able to get it to the destination, to get it extracted by second or third hand, so it won't be traced back to them. So uh, once J Bone broadcast that Farrakhan has been withholding information about like the uh, uh, proof there is a cure out there to the black shades, uh, and they were trying to get their hands on it to market it, so they would end up charging out the yin yang for the cure, or keep it the bulk of it to themselves. But they end up going to release the information to the cure out to the world, so the masses can get cured of the black shades for free, and so people can survive. And as Johnny, Jane, and J Bone look out on the horizon and sees the building of Farrakhan HQ is being burnt to the ground, because there's always riots at the beginning of the film, or at least all throughout the film. You see like riots happening like here and there, and it's like, life imitating art, or at least they predicting. It looked like it seems like you can see parallels to in this movie into what we're dealing with now. So it's kind of funny, but and that's where the movie ends, and it didn't do so well critically, but I think now people look upon, because like people look fondly on a lot of Keanu Reeves films. Not as much as the one where like he's supposed to be, it's like a Dracula film back in the day, where he's put on like a very bad British accent. But by and large, Keanu Reeves' filmography has nothing to scoff at. By and large, he is pretty good. And since like John Wick, that's just been like he's been killing it on every which way. He's like a great human being. It's like it's very small amount of good human beings left out in the world. He already lost like Betty White and like Bob Saget, and it's just like just so many good people out in the world, just like genuine human beings. It's like just it's like I hear you hear a lot of stories. I mean, it's not like stories like random like rumors or anything. It's like legit stories, how just random acts of kindness by Keanu Reeves. Like I remember a video seeing Keanu Reeves. This is before he had like the cool beard and long hair. He's still like very clean shaven. He was sitting on a bus. I think it was in New York, and he sees this pregnant woman walk in, and like no one was getting out to give her seat, and he's just like immediately up. It's like giving the seat. He's taking transportation like everybody else. He doesn't care, honestly, even though he has tons of motorcycles and motorcycle fanatic. I remember another story where Keanu Reeves goes to the movie theater to go see this movie, and like the tickets seller was like was so shocked. It's like he was nervous. He tore a piece of ticket, handed the one half to Keanu as he goes off, and like the kid like told how like he was like so like he was so starstruck he couldn't eke out the words to ask for his autograph and what have you. But as soon as the movie was over, Keanu Reeves comes back, sees the ticket teller, hands him his part of the ticket with his autograph, and says, I had a feeling you kind of needed it. You wanted this. So I figured like I just, give you like an autograph, for being cool and everything like that. And it's like, the kid lost his mind, and it's like, he's just a good human being. It's just like, I will lose if I ever meet Keanu Reeves. Honestly, he's just like the gold standard of just like with like Christopher Reeves, it's just like a gold standard of a human being. It's just like, and he has such a tragic upbringing, and I'm not gonna hash it out right now. You can easily look it up, anyone on YouTube or just Google it or whatever. But he's like, despite his, like I looked at him as like inspirational, like despite, because I deal with a lot of issues personally from time to time, and it is a struggle. It's a struggle for like, it's not like I'm perfect or anything like that. Like I done my fair share of like screw ups in the past that is on me, but I try my hardest to like try to just make sure like I don't be a shitty person, you know? Like I stay in my lane, I lend people a hand every once in a while. Like, I just try to be like just the overall like decent person and like, be cordial and what have you. But it's hard, realistically, it's hard for people to maintain just being a good, decent person when you get like, because we're human, like things aggravate us. People, get to us. We suffer trauma every once in a while, and we sometimes want to lash out. I'm pretty sure Keanu probably felt that every once in a while, despite him being like almost like perfect. But it's just that I looked at him and seemed like the stuff he went through, and he still managed to maintain his good nature, and it's like that's something is very inspiring, And like I just see Keanu Reeves and think that is the wholesome, incredible, breathtaking human being that like I just would just want to be around his aura, because it's just like I did feel like I definitely can learn a lot from that man. But but I'm going off on because it's gonna be a lot of Keanu love in these series of films, because once I wrap up the bulk of my Keanu Reeves films, I'm going to start off with this. It's going to be like a long journey of Star Wars films and television shows in chronological order that meets into the Star Wars saga. Not like the Lego stuff or anything like that. I'm talking about like stuff that's like integrated into the Star Wars canon, including like Mandalorian, Book of Boba Fett. That's why I haven't done any kind of like commentaries about the episodes, because I want to do like episode 1, including the TV shows and stuff like that, all the way towards Rise of Skywalker. So that I want to make sure I'm going to try to get all that stuff done either by or before May the 4th. So just like a whole bulk of Star Wars canonized reviews. So look forward to that. But not until after I'm wrapped up with because I didn't include every Keanu Reeves film. I already did like, Matrix 4, a month ago. But I didn't include like the other Matrix films. And then there's like a couple of other things with Keanu Reeves, but I'll get to those eventually. But I just got like it's like a handful for right now. I don't want to overwhelm myself. I want to meet like certain time frames for certain things. So eventually I will get to other Keanu Reeves stuff. But look forward tomorrow for my speed review, and I will see you guys soon. Don't go anywhere for at least too long. I will be back in like a few minutes because I have a new discussion video that I want to do. And I'll see you guys a little bit.